Hi, my name is Justin Luchin, and the title of my research study is The Impacts of Academic Planners on Achievement for At-Risk High School Students. I'm currently a graduate student at Morningside College, and I'm also a high school at-risk teacher at Iowa City West High School. The problem for at-risk students is a lack of self-regulated learning skills to be able to manage their homework, and these learning skills are like time management, planning, organizing, and goal setting. And these lack of skills contribute to at-risk students dropping out. Recent study found that 6.1% of high school students drop out annually, and there's also other negative consequences that go with dropping out. I chose this topic because at West High, they used to provide planners to the entire school population. I incorporated it into my curriculum, but then the high school stopped purchasing planners about 2 years ago, and I noticed a drop in academic achievement, homework completion, GPA. So I want to determine if the implementation of an academic planner would increase academic achievement. A lot of the literature review I looked at dealt with homework completion and achievement, and most all of it found that there is a positive influence from completing your homework on academic achievement. A lot of the studies found that you can, completing homework or being required to complete homework scores better on semester tests, your letter grades are higher, your GPA is higher, and to that effect. I've also looked into time spent on homework and achievement, and that research says by increasing just 1 hour a week can increase GPA. It can also increase math exam scores, and if by increasing your homework by 1 hour a day, has the effect of increasing your ACT score by 5.21%. And there's also been a positive correlation found with homework completion and midterm grades. Additionally, self-regulated learning skills. The research says that if you have these skills, you're more likely to display initiative, motivations, high self-efficacy, personal responsibility. And essentially, what it's saying is at-risk students do not have these skills, so they lack these qualities. And additionally, they lack the qualities, and they also become procrastinators. But they have seen that self-regulated learning interventions have increased academic achievement in elementary students. And the gap in the research is there's no studies that specifically research the at-risk population and strategies and self-regulated strategies, and nothing has ever been studied about an academic planner as a self-regulation strategy. So my research question was, what effect does an academic planner have on time spent on homework, grade point average, and homework completion rate? So my purpose of this study is to determine the effect of a self-regulated learning strategy, the use of an academic planner, on time spent on homework, GPA, and homework completion rate. My hypothesis is that the implementation of the academic planner would increase these three measures: GPA, homework completion rate, and time spent on homework. The variables, the independent variable is the academic planner. The dependent variable are time spent on homework, GPA, and homework completion rate. And the possible impacts of this study would be it may increase the chances of at-risk students graduating. It could also allow me to continue using an academic planner in my curriculum, and it could also influence schools to provide academic planners to at-risk students. I chose to use a single subject A-B research design because I wanted to study the behavior change in a group when I added an intervention. There were 30 participants, all identified as at risk, grades 9 through 12, 16 female, 14 female, 56% African American, 33% Caucasian, 8% Hispanic, 3% Asian. There were no IEPs, and they were all enrolled in my Success Center course. An academic planner was used to record homework, a time data diary to record their time spent on homework each day, and PowerSchool was used to acquire GPA information and homework completion information. So the study was an 8-week study, 4-week baseline, 4-week treatment phase. In the baseline phase, no planner. Participants recorded their time spent on homework in their diary every single day. Then GPA was recorded at the conclusion of the phase, and the homework completion rate was calculated at the conclusion of the phase as well as the average time spent on homework per week. Then we implemented the use of an academic planner, and the participants recorded their homework each day. Participants also recorded their time spent on homework again, and their GPA was calculated at the end of the phase again, and homework completion rate was calculated, as well as the average time spent on homework. used three dependent sample t-tests were conducted. We compared the data from the conclusion of the baseline to the conclusion of the treatment phases in all three measures: time spent on homework, GPA, and homework completion rate. So let's dive into the results. What you see here is that GPA, time spent on homework, homework completion rate, they were all statistically significant with large, if not very large, effect sizes. The statistical significance is key because what that means basically is this study is not attributed to chance. There was an influence of the planner on these three measures. But let's look specifically at GPA. At the conclusion of the baseline phase, the participants had an average GPA, a mean GPA of 1.33 on a 4.0 scale. Adding the academic planner at the conclusion of the treatment, that rose to 1.93 on the 4.0 scale. This was statistically significant, and it was a large effect size. So we show that the academic planner did have a positive influence on GPA. And time spent on homework. These students, participants, spent an average of 54.43 minutes per week on homework. But after the treatment phase and the planner was implemented, that rose to 74.70 minutes spent studying per week. And again, statistically significant, and this was a very large effect size. The homework completion rate. In the baseline phase, the participants completed a mean of 56%. So they completed 56% of all their homework assignments. But after the treatment phase was concluded and they used the academic planner, they completed 70% of their homework in the treatment phase. Again, statistically significant, and it was a very large effect size. So the hypothesis, again, was the implementation of an academic planner would increase students' GPA, homework completion rate, and time spent on homework. The results of this study supported that hypothesis. And I think it's worth mentioning that there were some qualitative results that I also observed. I began to see students taking initiative, filling out their planners on their own responsibility, talking to teachers, talking to me more about homework, and there was a sense of pride about getting their planner filled out and their GPAs rising. So those are also, like I said, qualitative results that could be possibly studied in the future. So connecting all of this to past research, we found that obviously self-regulated learning skills are needed to manage homework. And if you don't have those skills, you're a procrastinator. It causes procrastination. These aligned with a lot of our baseline results. Without an implementation, they lack the skills. They only completed 56% of the homework. Their GPA, mean GPA is 1.33, and they only studied less than an hour a week total. So we need to incorporate these self-regulated learning skills. We need to incorporate new strategies for these students to be successful. And also, we found that the homework completion, increasing academic achievement, was right in line with our results. In past research, it found that students scored 10% higher on semester tests when required to do homework. Letter grades, GPA was higher, all when doing homework or being required to do homework. Well, in our study, they did 14% more homework, okay, which raised their GPA 0.60 points. So what does this mean? Teachers need to assign homework, okay, and on top of being assigned homework, we need to teach these kids these self-regulation learning skills. It's imperative for their success, but you need to assign the homework first and make it valuable and worth something so they want to do it. Also, the amount of time you spent on homework and academic achievement aligns with our study as well. Increasing 1 hour per week of studying in a study found that it raised GPA 0.278 points. Well, in our study, an increase of just 20 minutes per week increased our participants' GPA 0.60 points on a 4.0 scale. What does that mean? If we can just provide the skills to these students to be able to do homework, to understand how to do homework, to understand how to manage their time, if we can give them these skills, academic achievement obviously will increase, GPA will increase. So let's take time and teach these skills, and let's add an academic planner. Self-regulated learning strategies also increase academic research. We saw that there was lack of strategies, but we provided a strategy, and like we said, they completed 14% more homework assignments, and that is right on line with the research. But it also is right on line is that when we provided an academic plan or this research strategy, I observed students taking this initiative. Their motivation was higher. They took pride and more personal responsibility. So these things back that up, which is great to see. So not only will academic achievement increase, but those intrinsic qualities and just feeling like they can do school is beneficial as well. There were some limitations. A small sample size. We only had 30 students in 3 classes. Well, at the school we have 7 classes and 70 students, so we did not include all of them. And also, we're an urban population, so we don't represent a rural area. So what I would recommend is that we do the study again. You include the entire school's population. I would partner with schools in different areas, rural areas, and run the studies and see if the results are the same, because I think if they're the same, that completely validates and gives that study a boost. Another limitation is the short duration of the study. It was only 8 weeks, 4 weeks for each phase, and that doesn't take into account, extracurricular. If you don't have time, maybe you're in the middle of your sports season, or you had a bad few weeks, or you have some family issues, or in a class you spend 4 weeks on a project, and in the treatment phase you have 35 assignments. It doesn't account for all these things. So my recommendation would be use a full trimester for each phase, so 12 weeks for each phase. That way you can spread it out, you can get the start to finish, the grades and all the assignments, and it evens everything out, and I think you get a more accurate picture with your results. The time of year the study was conducted, 3rd trimester, end of the year, study habits have already formed. It was hard to get kids to use planners right away. And another thing is, if they've struggled and failed all year long, and then they have failed the beginning half of the 3rd trimester, what gives them hope? What does it even matter to pass? So I recommend starting the study at the beginning of the year. All right, a fresh start. They haven't formed those habits yet, and if they struggle the first trimester, a few weeks, you still have a lot of the year left to bounce back. And the last limitation was process for reporting time spent on homework. I printed out a page that they had to fill out when they came back the next day. I think it would be much easier for them to have something online. That way they can study, they can plug it in online just after they do it, and they don't have to wait the next day and then think about how much time did they study, which might make the results a little more inaccurate and lead to some guessing. So I would provide an online time diary. There are some implications for this study. All right, implications for students. Write down your assignments daily. Use a planner. Write things down, because we've shown that writing things down has a positive influence. Academic achievement increases. So if you need a strategy that is simple, let's start with a planner. Implication for parents. Purchase a planner for your children, and then each night check to see if it's filled out. And again, this is a simple thing to do. Planners aren't expensive. Also, you don't need to know the curriculum to help your students. So it's an easy way, and it's a strategy that you can teach that they can use the rest of their lives. The implication for schools. Let's provide academic planners for at-risk students. We've seen the results: homework completion rate, GPA, time spent on homework. So I think that money is well spent. I know schools are in quite a budget crisis, as we are, but the results are there, it's proven, and we have an obligation to do everything we can for these at-risk students. We want them to graduate and be successful in the future. And for implication for teachers, I would implement an academic planner into the curriculum. Give them points for a grade, because not only are you promoting self-regulation skills, you're also promoting that they are going to do better in your class. And not only do better in your class, it may also be an opportunity for you to speak with students that you never speak with. If you go around and have to check planners, you may be able to have that crucial conversation that you never get to have with a student. And sometimes that makes all the difference. If you can start building bonds, it goes a long way with students. So that is my research study. I appreciate you listening.